Hi guys, today we're going to learn a little bit about density. So what is density? Density can be explained by saying how compact an item is or how close together it is. Another way is using the terms mass and volume. So it's related to mass, so how heavy something is, and how volume, how much space does something take up. So this is kind of confusing, right? So I'm going to do an example. So let's say you have two identical boxes, but one box you fill it with gold and the other box you fill it with feathers. Which one is heavier? The gold box, because gold is more dense than feathers. That's why the gold box is heavier. So that's what density is. So we're going to do a little experiment about density, and all we'll need is 3 different cups, one filled with corn syrup, one filled with oil, and then one filled with water. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these up about maybe halfway or so. Okay. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we are going to take small items from around the house. So I've got these like small paper balls, and then I've got pennies, some bobby pins, and then my last item will be some like dried berries. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a hypothesis about whether or not each of these items will sink or float. So what is a hypothesis? A hypothesis is an educated guess. So you're going to guess whether or not each item is going to float or sink. So here's mine. So the S stands for sink and the F stands for float, and then this shows what kind of liquid we're putting each item in. So water, corn syrup, and oil. So I thought the penny, the paper, and the clip would sink in the water, but I thought the berry would float. In the corn syrup, I thought the penny would sink, but everything else will float. And then in the oil, I said that I thought everything would sink. So we're going to test these hypotheses, and we're going to see if we were correct or not. And then while we do the experiment, make sure you're writing down like what actually happens. Did things sink or did they float? So let's get started. The first thing I wanted to test was the pennies, because the pennies were the heaviest, and I thought in every single one the pennies would sink. So we've got the corn syrup, the oil, and then the water here. So in the water, the penny sinks. So I'm going to go ahead and write that the penny sinks in the water. Okay. And here, the penny also sinks in the oil. And then in the corn syrup, oh, the penny actually, oh, it's moving. The penny sinks in the corn syrup too. At first, I kind of thought it was going to float because it was moving so slowly, but it actually ended up sinking. So in each liquid, the penny sinks. Okay, our next item is going to be the paper. This one will probably be the lightest. So the paper, and okay, so actually the paper floats in the water, but because it's getting wet, it's starting to unravel and kind of sink a little bit. the paper actually, if you look at this one, the paper actually floats in the oil. See, it's not actually going to the bottom. And in this one, the paper just completely sits on top. So, I'm going to write down that the paper floats in all three liquids. Okay, our next item is the bobby pin. So I think I said before, I thought it would sink in the water and the oil, but it would float in the corn syrup. So let's take a look. So it sinks in the water, sinks in the oil, and it floats in the corn syrup. See? Floats in the corn syrup. And in the oil, it's at the bottom with the penny. And in the water, it's also at the bottom. Okay, our last item are these like raisins. So I'm gonna make sure we get the same of each kind. Okay, so I've got 3 raisins. I'm gonna take them and put them in each one. I said before that the berry would, or the raisin would float in the water and the corn syrup, but it would sink in the oil. So let's take a look at what happens. So, oh, the berry actually sunk in the water. And it sinks in the oil. And it floats in the corn syrup. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look. I said, so the berry sunk in the water. It sunk in the oil. And then what happened in the corn syrup? Oh, it floated in the corn syrup. And then the clip sunk in the water. Oh, shoot, guys. The clip actually sunk. If you look, the clip is at the bottom with the penny in the corn syrup. So the clip sunk in the corn syrup and it sunk in the oil. So if we take a look at our chart, this is what actually happened. And this is what I thought happened. So pretty different than what I thought. So the reason why some of the items floated and some of them sunk is because of density. So in the oil or in the corn syrup, the raisin and the piece of paper floated while the penny and the hair clip sunk. So this means that both the paper and the berry are less dense than the corn syrup, while the penny and the clip are more dense than the corn syrup. So that's pretty cool. I hope you guys learned a little bit about density. It's kind of a confusing topic, so like, don't worry if you don't get it right away. But I hope you guys try this experiment at home, and you guys can try different. You guys can try different items. Like you could probably try like maybe some Legos or a paper clip, maybe a cork. Really anything small that would potentially float or sink. And then also, if you guys don't have corn syrup, honey might be a good substitution. But hope you guys liked the video, and see you later. Bye!